I'm gonna be honest with all of you and not waste your time either, but this challenge was not possible and it kinda sucked the entire time. I've been sitting on this footage for so long now and I have no idea what else to do for videos, so here we are. The challenge is pretty self-explanatory, but in case anyone was specifically wondering, I was allowed to use the human turret, human car turret, human tank turret, not my fucking ears, the human flying turret, the alien turret, hey no this is mine, back off, alien tank turret, and the alien circular sphere turret. Now before we get started I need a dress for the part. Give me just a moment, I'll be right back. Okay, this feels more appropriate and heavy. Damn George, how do you do it?
Wow, I like your armor.
Oh, thank you. Well, with the rules, armor changes, elite, thwarting, and compliments aside, let's get into it. So starting off strong, I accidentally ran off this railing and died thanks to gravity and my own stupidity. As for the rest of this level, I had to solely rely on my AI allies to kill any of the Covenant for me because there was not a single turret to be seen. Except for George's, but he wasn't too keen on sharing. I won't bore you with any of the details, but all this level was easy and didn't take too long, thankfully. It wasn't until I got to the final section where it's just me and George. And big guy did not want to move from his one spot, so I had to force him and the Covenant out of their hiding spots so he can kill them. This process took over half an hour and was incredibly irritating. The strategy that worked the best was to use the bubble shield for safety while still drawing out the Covenant's attention. After repeating this process, they all went down and this level was beat successfully without turrets. Like, it was beat successfully, but I didn't use a single turret because I didn't kill a single thing. While I could have gotten a turret on this level if I was patient enough, I didn't and relied on my allies to do the hard work for me. After 10 minutes of waiting for Cat to deal with the Covenant inside the base, we made it outside and I ran to my two objectives, activated them, picked up the rocket launcher for later, then ran back to the base. When it came time to kill the hunters, I gave a Marine the rocket launcher I picked up earlier and watched as they trial and error their way to victory. Once I got inside Sword Base, I ran straight to the top to help Emil and patiently waited again as everyone else did the work. Hey big man, I like the fit. June, while I think you're pretty cool, you're not the Spartan I'm looking for. But like any typical run of Nightfall, I just ran past everything, clipped through this gate, and booked it to the end of the level. From the start of this level, I ran straight to the Covenant AA gun, blew it up with a grenade because, well, no turret, then took a ghost and boosted to the mining facility to take my shortcut. Once up there, I finally got my hands on a turret after 3 full levels of not having one. I broke it off its stand, then slowly made my way to the next AA gun. When I got to said gun, I wasted a quarter of my ammo on the core of the AA gun, so that wasn't exactly great, but with the gun down for the count, I could now focus on the Covenant troops. I used most of what was left of my turret on the hunters, then hopped in the Falcon with my best bud George. On the ride over to the Spire, I for no good reason decided not to use the gun, even though it classifies as a turret when you get in the Falcon. Either way, after dying, a lot, I was able to survive the onslaught and come crashing down with my best bud George. Despite me and George being best turret pals, he's still not too keen on sharing his turret with me, so I had to come up with an alternative. It took several minutes, but I did end up forcing George up the Spire and got to watch his very exciting fight with this Elite Ultra. After he took the rest of the Covenant out, the mission was finally over. So like all other levels at this point, there's still no turret to start off with, so I had to rely on Noble Team once again. The Saber section went about the same as it always does, so nothing new there. Once I got inside the Corvette, that's where the challenge really started going downhill. There's not a single turret inside the Corvette, so instead of wasting your time, I'm just gonna let you know that this was the mission that deemed this challenge a failure. After beating the rest of the level like normal, unfortunately, I had to say goodbye to best bud George and carry on alone.
Tell him to make it count.
My memory must be failing me at this point because I could have sworn there were way more turrets in this campaign than there actually has been. This level is exactly the same as the others in that there weren't any turrets at the start, so I again had to rely on my allies to do the heavy work for me. Once I reached this area here, I was finally able to get another turret. And while it was nice to actually use my designated weapon for once, it was short-lived because of the jetpack section. Fuck me, man, this challenge really was not fun. This area with the shade turrets was a pain in the ass because even if I got one of the grunts to hop out of the turrets, I either got killed by the other enemies or the turrets would just blow up after the grunt jumped out. It was really weird, not sure why that is. After quite a lot of tries, I ended up giving my allies a rocket launcher and a fuel rod cannon, but they refused to move forward into the building, so I had to finish this area normally. Also deeming this level impossible with only turrets. And for the final section, I ran into each missile battery, activated them, and beat the level unsuccessfully. For once, I actually get to take it easy and use a turret. Sure, it's a little annoying because I have to be in the Falcon to use it, but it's still a turret nonetheless. Either way, this level was actually really easy. I managed to shut down the Covenant jammer in the hospital without killing anything or dying, which was a nice plus. The disco building with the hunters was also easy. I just ran past them, shut down the jammer, and ran back to the Falcon. And it was the same process for the last building with the drones. The final task of this mission was to destroy the 6 shade turrets surrounding this building, and in no time at all, I got emotional damage.
What?
Now, this level was irritating as shit, but not because there weren't any turrets, because there was one of the immobile kind. So it came down to actually getting to kill the enemy and not moving, or being a helpless coward. Despite being immobile, which was already annoying enough, the most annoying part was the fact that the tank was very fragile, and it took a lot of damage by the time I reached the gate to get into Sword Base. This next area took a while because even if I slightly peeked out, the fuel rod turrets would drop everything they were doing just to make sure I felt their wrath. But, of course, in typical fashion, after several minutes of trial and error, I got past this section with a turret of some kind. Once inside Sword Base, I relied on what remained of Noble Team and made it to the cave. While down here, I for once utilized the auto turrets that are down here and patiently waited as Noble Team and those turrets did all the work. After several minutes, this level, to my surprise, was actually possible with only turrets. And finally, after delaying and procrastinating this challenge, I am finally on the last level. And it wasn't a nice one because I didn't get to use the turret once during this level.
That package. Here's our destination, 6.
So because of that fact, I ran to the last section record time, like 5 minutes I believe, and unfortunately had to kill the Covenant here as I normally would. While this challenge was a little bit of a letdown, at least some things remain the same. And since this challenge was already a failure, I decided to take my frustrations out on the Zealots on the way up to the railgun. With the Covenant cruiser down, the Pillar of Autumn made its escape, and the challenge was complete. But there's still some loose ends I need to take care of. While this wasn't the first challenge I failed, it's the first one I failed to this bad of a degree. If it wasn't for Noble Team and the other AIs, this would have been much worse. And in terms of how fun this challenge was, it just wasn't. I've been sitting on this footage for several months and only just now forced myself to finish this just to get it out of the back of my mind. Despite the letdown of this challenge, I hope you still all enjoyed the video, and feel free to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Hopefully, a lot more positive.